Aurora was founded in 1799 by a young man who came out from Suffield, Connecticut, Ebenezer Sheldon. Came out in the early spring of 1799, having hired a young couple, Sabrina and Elias Harmon, to come along with them to help clear a homestead, which they did, and that's that year of the spring and summer of 1799. Sabrina and Elias then moved on to Manaway, where they had purchased some land and cleared a homestead for themselves. The winter of 1799, Ebenezer goes back to Suffield, Connecticut, and prepares his family for their venture to come to Aurora in the spring of 1800. He packs up his family, his wife Lovey, who's a bride of 2 years. His first wife Huldah had passed away. They had 5 kids together, and then Ebenezer and Lovey had an additional 2. So 6 kids come along with them. The youngest is just a baby. George is like only a year old or so. And they come across what old Indian trails and military paths, basically along what is today the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Traveled by foot and wagon to Warren, and then from Warren on to Aurora. The trip could take anywhere from 8 weeks to or longer, depending on weather and circumstances. When they had gotten close to Warren, Ohio, there was a bad storm that blocked the trail. Ebenezer actually left his family in the wilderness and went on by himself to get enough men to come back and help clear the path and open the path again so they could safely travel the rest of the way. So some settlers took that route across country. Others would go up to upstate New York and then travel by boat along the Lake Erie shore to the Niagara Falls area. Portage across to, they would actually cross Lake Ontario and then come down to Lake Erie to where the Chagrin River opens into up in Vermilion area, and then down river to Aurora, basically. Arrive here in the spring of 1800. The homestead, the log cabin, is already erected. When they first glance upon the cabin, Lovey, his wife, sits down and cries because they had left a nice home in Suffield, Connecticut, and were coming out into a one-room cabin here in the wilderness. 2 families in Cleveland, 1 in Manaway, a couple in Warren, and that was it, except for Native Americans living in the region. His daughter, 16-year-old Huldah, tells Lovey, "Don't worry, Mom, we'll make this into a nice place." And they can, they start to build a homestead. Ebenezer had been a soldier in the Connecticut military. He had served with them during the Lexington Alarm, which happened in 1774 when the British marched on Lexington and Concord. All the Minutemen were called in from the surrounding New England communities and converged on Massachusetts. He was only there for a short period of time and then wanted to get back home to tend to the family farm, which he was able to do after that kind of quieted down in that area. When they moved to Aurora, he plays an important part, obviously, in the community. Early on, with some of the earlier settlers, they construct from his homestead out on the border of Aurora and Manaway, what later comes to be known as Pioneer Trail. It was an old Indian trail that was converted into a little bit more of a rugged road to the center of town. He's one of the first town's trustees. 3 of men served as trustees. He was one of the first ones elected. He and his wife participated in the founding of the church in Aurora. He's later Justice of the Peace, which is kind of interesting. His daughter Huldah, 16-year-old, was the only marriageable woman in the community at that time, and there was a gentleman over in Manaway, Amos Atwater, who had frequented the Sheldon cabin. One night he's invited for dinner, and he asked Lovey and Ebenezer if he could marry Huldah. They had a discussion about it and said fine. she agreed it. Huldah agreed to it. Ebenezer pulls out a Bible and says a few verses, pronounces them man and wife, and Huldah walks back to Manaway with her new husband Amos. And why I mention that is because when Ebenezer became Justice of the Peace, Governor Tappan, who had named him Justice of the Peace, predated the paperwork back to before his daughter had been married by him, so that the marriage would legally be a binding marriage. They wanted to make sure everything was fine. So they actually had an older daughter too, Mary, who had stayed back in Suffield, Connecticut. She came out with her new husband, Elias Harmon, in 1803, and they established a cabin in a homestead out by Aurora Shore. And so eventually all the family members, all the children of the Sheldons were able to make it out here to Aurora. And they didn't bring much with them, only the basics that you would, your prized possessions, among which might be your bed, and some pots and pans and family heirlooms and stuff like that. The early settlers, though, if you wanted glass for your windows, if you wanted nails and other material or linen to make a dress, you had to go to Pittsburgh. It was the closest place, until we actually had our own merchants begin to set up shops in the 1820s. The memory of Ebenezer obviously plays an important part in the history of Aurora, and we've, as a historical society, has commemorated that by actually moving his land agent's office, which was out on Spring Hill estate, the homestead, original Sheldon homestead, to Pioneer Park, right opposite the museum. Worked with the city to have it moved, and then the Historical Society raised about $50,000 to renovate the interior of the building as a lasting memory to Sheldon and his family, and Levy's importance to establishing this community.